Greetings, my friends. This is Celeria Rosencroix, and on this episode of the Chronological Quran, episode 14, we shall be in earnest beginning our exploration of Surah 73, wherein some very interesting prescriptions Allah required of Muhammad and the reading of the Quran are unveiled. Without further ado, let us begin. O you wrapped in your clothes, or as the Arabic says, as indicated in this transliteration, Ya ayyuha al-Muzzammil, from which the surah itself received its name. Stand all night in prayer, except for a little. Keep vigil all night long. Pray half the night, or a little less. Or a little more. And recite the Quran properly, in a measured way, slowly and distinctly. So, first of all, it is worth noting that sleep deprivation is very bad for someone's mental and physical health, and that is especially the case over prolonged periods of time. This is surely not helpful for someone who is also dealing with significant physical and mental stressors throughout their career, especially at the age Muhammad already was by the start of his time as Islam's prophet. It feels somewhat disturbing to know that Muhammad was subjected to such a thing as an order, separate and beyond all other prayer requirements which Muslims have to deal with. Pity and sympathy aside, though, it is worth noting that these are the first specific religious requirements which are made in the Quran so far. Sure, there were moral requirements and orders that Muhammad must follow, but not specific ritual practices until this point. That Muhammad is ordered to read slowly and clearly is probably also worth noting. We shall continue on to 73:5, wherein it is said, Indeed, we will cast upon you a heavy word. And indeed, the hours of the night are more effective for concurrence of the heart and tongue, and more suitable for words. Lo, the vigil of the night is a time when impression is more keen, and speech more certain. Surely getting up at night is the best means of subduing the self, and is more suitable for uprightness in speech. So here Allah recognizes that placing the Quran upon Muhammad is going to be something incredibly difficult for him, and highly stressful. In Maduri's commentary on 5, it spoke of hadith which seemed to indicate physical strain fell upon him when he was specifically receiving a revelation as well, causing him to break out in cold sweats, to need to lie down and rest his head, and to have difficulty riding upon a camel. Though it is worth noting, for the sake of honesty, that it is also indicated there seemed to be a physical weight, which was coming down upon him, and causing these problems in part as well. It is very much worth noting that none of these sorts of difficulties are associated with any prophet receiving revelations from God, and these symptoms help set apart Muhammad's situation from those of the individuals serving Yahweh in that capacity, in the Judaic and Christian traditions. It is also very peculiar that it is supposed to be the case that it is easier to study and understand the Quran at night. If I'm being generous, I would say that this may well be because there is less heat and there is more capacity for privacy, whereas during the day you might have other people to deal with and many interruptions therefrom. A less generous part of myself wants to suggest that there is a particular affinity with darkness which is being pointed towards here. Truth flourishes in the light. Truth flourishes in the light, whereas the shadows are friends of those who wield deception and work to spread evil about the face of the world. It is an ominous notion, the one which such a passage evokes. Now, 73:7 continues with, Indeed for you by day there is prolonged occupation with the affairs of the world. So remember the name of your Lord, and devote yourself to him with an exclusive and complete devotion. He is the Lord of the East and the West. There is no deity except for him. So take him as your guardian and disposer of affairs. These last 3 ayat feel like filler content, honestly. That said, I suppose it is the case that this is the first time that Allah denies that other gods are actually real. Whereas before, he simply mocked and implied that no other spiritual entity could compare in power or dominion to him. So that's a thing, I guess. And so he says, despite the fact he's asking Muhammad to dedicate himself to great focus on prayer and dedication at night, he should not forget about him during the day while he is concerned with worldly affairs, but rather should also rely upon Allah for those affairs coming out all right, and always keep his exclusive enslavement to him in mind. And so this passage of the Quran comes to an end. This has been Celeria Rosencreux, and until next my words greet your ears, I bid you farewell.